So good morning, everyone. And we will be starting our webinar using customer experience to maximize content quality. So when we look at e-commerce, we are talking from SMB to mid-market to large enterprise accounts. And then we see tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions or hundreds of millions of pages there. Our analysis, when we dive into the content quality for various pages, in general, we see not more than 10 pages are good there. The quality is not good, the user experience is not good. And when user experience is not good, you see the poor conversion. There is a quite large bounce rate. And when that happens, you also see the traffic suffer, especially search engines, including Google, doesn't like that. So I think that's what we are going to address today. And to begin with, this is the agenda we'll follow. We'll just do a quick introduction to the speakers. E-commerce usually has several page types. Today we will be focusing on dynamic category landing pages. We call them DCLP. So we'll talk to you what, why do the review, and then we'll show you how to solve that puzzle. So quick introduction of the speakers. So my name is Alok Jain. I'm one of the co-founder at Ezidia. I come from Walmart and eBay, and I have overseen SEO and content there. And I was in your shoe. Many of the folks who belong to e-commerce has joined this webinar, and some of them are running SEO and content there. So I was in your shoe for a long time at Walmart and eBay, and I have seen first phase for the content challenges there. And that's how the kind of vision of Ezidia was formed. And that's what we are going to talk to you, how we take some of those challenges, what methodologies we use, and how we solve it to some of the world's largest brands and many SMB and mid-market clients. And hopefully you're able to learn something from today. Today, I have joined by Sandy McGrath. She's a senior project manager at Ezidia, and I'll request her to introduce herself.
Hi everyone, I'm Sandy. I come from the heavy truck and automotive industry doing QS 9000 as a quality engineer and a quality manager. There's different kind of documentation there than there is for e-commerce, but in the long run, it's still important that it's clear and understood. There's a whole lot more about me.
Yeah, no, I think I can write what Sandy knows a book about it, but I think we'll stay that for a separate webinar. Okay, so moving on, I'd like to dive in a little bit about the common page types in an e-commerce. So we divide the pages into different categories. One we call it essential pages, and that encompass product pages, category pages, something where the real transactions happen. And then value-added pages, those are blogs, buying guides in general. And then if an e-commerce also associated multi-channel where they have store footprint, there could be also additional page types like local pages. So for today's conversation, we'll stay focused on DCLPs. So really, what are the dynamic category landing pages? So when we look at the category pages, that's really a product assortment for one particular customer or search intent. And when we say static landing pages, these are usually part of the left nav, or it might be part of the main category hierarchy, what you see on the menu bar when you go to any e-commerce site. And you can browse to these category assortment, and that's pretty much we call the static landing pages. When you think the dynamic landing pages, and user need to take an action there. So for example, you have a search in mind. When you search it, a new page is created that brings a product assortment through your search intent. So that's a dynamic in nature. Or if you go to a category page and then you pick a specific facet or filters from left side, then again it creates a page that's dynamic in nature. So I'll show you some of those examples. Before I dive into the examples, I really want to understand how many you have dynamic landing pages in your e-commerce, and what is your understanding? So I'd like to do our first poll, and really I think that will give us a little bit more context of the audience and what you guys are doing right now and how we can help educating this better through this webinar. So the first poll is really, do you have dynamic category landing pages as one of your key traffic driver? And I'll give it another few seconds before we share the results. All right, so I think we have many people contributed here, and let me just look at the results. So what we see, over 50% of the participant has said yes, they have the dynamic category landing pages or DCLPs as one of their key projects. So moving on, I'd like to dive in to an example from Walmart, so you guys can see what I really mean here. So for example, if I look at this main category nav in the main menu, for example, if I go to baby section, so this is like first level or super department level, some of the e-commerce call. When you go to first level, second level in the category map, here you see baby food. If I go to the baby food, so like from baby to feeding baby food, 2 or 3 level of this hierarchy, I can pretty much browse. So these pages are static pages. Now, as an user, if I, or as a customer or shopper, if I take an action on this one, for example, if I say I care about Plum Organics brand, so now a new page is generated, which still has pretty good assortment. Then this page is dynamic in nature. I can choose more facet there. I say, okay, I'm looking for my toddler, so show me only choices which are for toddler. Or if I say, okay, I prefer to get those in a spouted pouches. So then you also pick that, and now I have only 2 assortment here, may not be the best experience. So this is one way to reach to these dynamic pages. The other thing what you can do, you can just really look for Plum Organics, say toddler food. So that's, you use a common query or a search intent, and again you see this page has been generated. So these pages are dynamic in nature. So I'll just go back, and here are a handful of examples. Since I have walked you through to a real website, I'll skip this section. So how are the DCLP are created? So the one example is, so the one way you create is really you dive into the common internet searches which are happening through your e-commerce, and you identify what customers care about through your internal search engines. So that is one thing. But then you might not have enough customers, or your customers are not giving you all the possible intents. Then you also go to external tools. Of course, Google Keyword Planner is your friend. Most of that information can come for free or through APIs at a fraction of cost. Then there are other tools like Ahref, SEMrush, and other. And basically, you can identify the torso queries which can take the place of DCLPs. Because if these are really head queries, you want to make those static pages, and they must be part of the main category nav. And then if these are really torso, then you really want to do the product SKUs. So then the another alternate is like really find out the gap in your static category graph, and then you figure out what the pages, possible pages you should create. They will really take a form of DCLPs. And then again, you can pick and choose a filters facets which make sense. Again, this whole thing will take a whole new session, so I'll now dive in there. We'll keep that for a subsequent webinar, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of context how these pages are being created. This is one of the key offering or key possibility for any e-commerce, especially mid-size to large e-commerce, because with the product assortment, there is no way you can really hit everything through the static category maps. So you really need to have this kind of solution to entice the customer through specific search intents. And we have seen at least 20 to 40% increase in traffic to many of our clients whom we are working and solving some of these challenges. So I think we like to dive into DCLP review. And once you create these pages through the category, the static category gap, or through the common internal searches, or you pick these keywords from an external third party, when you dive in those keywords and try to create the DCLPs, you will find that many pages are created, they might not be offering a good user experience. And that's what we are going to dive in today and help you how to really solve the challenge. So at this point of time, I'd like to hand it over to Sandy, and she can walk you through how we really do the DCLP review. Sandy?
Hi. Okay, so let's start with what is the DCLP review. Basically, what you're doing is you're evaluating your pages, whatever type of pages you decide you want to take a look at, whether it's before publication or after. And you want to know is what is on there is real, and do you sell it? And is the page relevant to what your H1 or keyword is? And is it what the customer expects? So for example, if they're looking for an iPhone 7, they're going to go to your page, find that in Google, go to your page and expect to see iPhone 7s or at least iPhone 7 accessories on the page. And that's what the DCLP review checks. Is they go to that page, and if they see all Samsung 7s on there, they're not going to have a good experience and they're going to leave, which is going to increase your bounce rate. Okay, go ahead. So the way we check is we try to use customer experience as much as possible to evaluate the pages. We'll create a series of questions that will mimic customer response. So it's you could do it doing customer surveys, but the idea is to do this before the customer gets there. So you build a team of basic shoppers that will answer questions about their experience when they look at the page. And then you can use the results in the form of different types of KPIs in order to bring the issues to light and see what kind of pages you need to fix. Next slide, please. So why should you do it? Okay. Number one is to improve customer experience. To get a better understanding of what your pages look like as seen through your customer's eyes. You want to reduce bounce rate. When they get there, you want them to stick around. You don't want them to click in and go, oh, that's not what I want, I'm going somewhere else. You want to improve conversion. You want to keep them there. You want them to click through. You want them to go shopping. You want to help them find what they need. Just overall, you want a better internal and external search going on so that there's better relevancy of the product discovery and that it moves you up on the Google pages. And we've got a poll right here. So I believe it's number 3. So this is just a quick poll to see how many, so when you run this, what you think the numbers are as far as what comes up as good pages. About how many good pages do you think you get from checking this? Can you check those results? Okay. So we've got a split between less than 25 and 30 to 60, and then the rest are and then we've got one person at 90% or above. Cool. Okay. Next slide. So this is what is actually going on. As of the work that we've done with different large customers, and even comparing customer to customer and batch to batch, these numbers hold pretty good. The amount of good pages is around 18 to 20%. The potentially good pages are about 50 to 57, 60%, and bad pages are around 25%. And the thing is the poor pages reduce your traffic, and of course, in the long run, that's lower sales. Next, please. Okay, so we check for specific things when we're looking, and the top ones are offensive, if a page is offensive, if there's relevance, and if there's retail intent. And the first thing we do, totally based on Google, usually, is check for if it's offensive. And that can be explicit pages, illegal pages, and items that should never appear on your site. So the example I have here is a Windows keys for sale. And most of those are keys that people are bootlegging. So something like that is something that you don't want to come up. It doesn't take much for people to put an offensive page up. You can take innocent things like Ariel from Frozen. They do one letter off and suddenly it's a porn site. So you have to watch some of the spelling on things that come in. That's a real important thing to check. Next. So now we'll look at retail intent. Basically, for retail intent, you want to know that it's a real item for sale, that there are other retailers selling it, so it's something that somebody's going to be searching for, and you do sell it. It's not something that you never will sell. And we often use Google to verify if there's retail intent, and it's kind of a combination between what the web page we're looking at and the customer site. And the importance of the retail intent is one example that we had was Flyby, which is in UK an actual airline. And so that was a keyword that came up on a page. Well, of course, the client doesn't sell airplane tickets. They're a retailer. So something like that is not a search word that they want a page to come up because they'll never get to their site. Okay, the next slide is checking for relevancy. And that one gets a bit more involved because there's a lot of things that can happen here. So we want to know that the products are at least closely related or associated to the keyword, if not the actual keyword themselves. So the first part is you have the exact match. They're looking for an iPhone 6, they get an iPhone 6. They're looking for a smartphone, then it could be an iPhone, it could be a Google, it could be, as long as it's a smartphone, it's a smartphone. The next version is, it's the same thing as the keyword, but it could go by a different name. So like flatware. Flatware includes silverware and spoons and forks and knives. It has a long range of things, but it's all part of flatware. So it would make for a good page. Another type is it falls into the category. So an iPhone portable charger. Well, you've got car chargers, which are portable. You've got power banks that are portable. So they're all related. They're the same type of thing. They're a pick up and go type charger. Another example is like Valentine's Day's cup. You may be looking at the page and say, well, I don't see anything that says Valentine's Day, but I see a whole page of red cups with hearts on them. Well, that type of thing would be fine. That's what a customer is looking for. I want something for Valentine's Day. Oh, look, hearts. That will work. And then the next one gets a little tricky sometimes because you have to have a little bit more history behind you, but it's looking for accessories. So most retail sites aren't going to sell a Ford Ranger, but it's a good chance they could have parts. So then you're looking for items on the page that are the same year and the same make and model. Or it says Universal for Ford Ranger, something like that. So you want to make sure that when they go looking for that Ford Ranger part, those Ford Ranger parts, they can see something like that on the page. They don't get there and see a whole bunch of things for a Toyota. So that's the last part of checking the relevancy. So what we put together is we go ahead and we've set it up that there's a series of different questions you can ask. There's one might go by looking up the number of irrelevant URLs on the page, the ones that don't fit the keyword. Another way to take it is you could look at the % good on a page. And then sometimes there's only one question. Does it match? Does it not match? We've kind of done all three approaches and probably 4 or 5 others at the same time. And we've put in a combination of machine and human. You have to have the human factor in there because that opinion is what tells you if that page is good. But you also have to have the machine part in there, make sure that the validations, that they validate what they pick, that the answers are consistent, that all the questions get answered. Just even little simple things like that. We have validation set up in the background to make sure that you get the KPIs you need and the answers you need to make a difference on your site.
All right. Thanks, Sandy, for walking us through. And again, I think if there is an interest, we will love to dive in to a detailed part of our solution, where we take in machine and crowd approach, where machine does some level of automation, which help us sorting through the DCLPs, their workability, and whether they are going to perform or not. And then we use large scale crowdsourcing, where these our community members, they act like real, they mimic the real customers. And the way Sandy has walked you through, they evaluate the page based upon these questions, and based upon those answers, we give a score to the page and we present it back to the client. And then client make a decision which page they want to launch or not. So I'd like to share a case study which we have done for one of a Fortune 10 client. What we have found in this case study, when we look at the pages, so we look at like close to 13,000 pages. And when we dove in, more than, so in general, we get like 18 to 20% good pages as the very first stage, as Sandy has walked you guys in her first couple of slides. But when we dive in, what we find, like at least another 30 to 40% of the pages are recoverable. Usually clients throw them away, and their recovery can happen through by minor adjustment in the keyword queries or H1 tags, and that can generate a whole different experience. Correcting the grammar, correcting some of the merchandising if you have that lever. And when we look at this particular use case, what we have found, the customer able to recover at least 3,000 items out of the 6,000 which we have suggested to them. Those could be recovered, and almost able to double their traffic and overall revenue through these pages. So I think this page review is very, this is something which we recommend if you have that kind of assortment and you have this DCLP pages. And ultimately, you do not want to launch pages which your users or search engines do not like. So I'd like to do a quick recap here. When we look at the opportunity, this is a good opportunity for any e-commerce to delight your customers and acquire new customers through SEO channel. These pages open up new opportunities, especially for the torso queries, because those are changing every day. Like a warm woolen sweater, that's a new query. In going back to our example, plum organics toddler food, that could be a new query that doesn't sit in your main category now. Now, how to move forward, really understand your category gap, where you have gaps where you can build the new DCLPs, build them, review for the assortment, find out if it is offering the right response for the search intent and overall customer experience. How is that looking? And then open up those pages selectively to Google and other search engines. And when I say open up those pages to Google, imagine the DCLP example I have shown you on Walmart. When you search through any keyword, it will generate a page. Or when you go and look, start manipulating those left nav facets, you can literally create hundreds of thousands or millions of pages out of very limited product assortment. But what is going to happen, you are not going to get good quality pages through all those queries or opening up all those pages. So you want to be cautious what pages you open. So for example, the scenario we have taken, when we say toddler food, there was a lot of choices. When we say plum organics, a brand name with toddler food, there was a still good product assortment. So that's a good user experience. But when you say Plum Organics, toddler food, spouted pouches, then there was only two choices. May not be that great customer experience, and also may not be that great torso query. So open up the pages to your consumers and to search engines for the key torso queries, but don't open them all, because then you do not have the good pages going there. So the word of caution: keep only good DCLPs, prune not performing ones. So go back and review all the DCLPs for 90 days, 120 days. And if you find that they are not bringing any traffic, prune them. And launch these pages only at regular intervals. Do not launch all of them once, because you can alarm the search engine that you are trying to manipulate these pages. So once you have these pages and you got a good number of DCLPs and you want to perform them even better, so these are our recommendations. You want to make them more and more relevant to Google as well as your consumers. So enrich your DCLPs with above the fold copy. On the right hand side image, you can see you can create maybe one or two sentences there. What is this page about? And then you can create additional copy on the bottom of the page. And this is the copy which gives search engine good perspective of this page, that you can go 150 to 200 to 50 word. What we have seen to this data, above the fold copy, we've seen 10 to 15% increment in search traffic through SEO. From the below the fold copy, we have seen anywhere from 10 to 15% improvement in the traffic. And then, of course, you need to interconnect all these pages to connect all these pages in such a way that search engine knows these pages exist and what is the overall flow from search engines, also from the user experience. So create HTML index page through footer links. You can call it popular products, whatever you want to name it. Submit the XML sitemaps to your DCLPs to Google and other search engines. You can provide the links through your copies, whether it is above the fold or below the fold, to other DCLPs and maybe product SKUs. And then you can create link modules and then connect all these pages together. So I think with that, we'll like to take a handful of questions, and hope, as I said in the beginning, hope you guys are able to learn something through this webinar today. So Sandy, if you don't mind, let's see if we have any questions coming from the audience.
Okay, we've got a few coming in. The first one is, what info do you need from me to get started?
Very good question. So again, you can provide as little information as possible, but of course, if you provide more detail, we can get more efficient and can respond faster to this kind of solution. So the information, if you can give, if you can expose your internal search queries, that can help us getting some data. The product assortment, which is key to you. We will crawl your site. We will identify the content gap where we can build or recommend you DCLPs keywords so you can create them. Once you have that, if you can really prioritize that these are the possibilities where we feel is most relevant to the business, I think those are the things which we need. And of course, like how many pages you want to launch, how soon you want to launch, we'll give you our best practices, but ultimately those are some of the decisions which you need to make as a business. So Sandy, I think that's my answer. If you can go to the next question.
Okay. The next question we have is, what is the ROI, ROAS observed from some of the clients via the DCLP project?
Yeah, so I think this is one of the project which is like least capital intensive. Of course, you need to build these pages and it requires some level of development work. Also the page review, even if you have hundreds of thousands of pages, that review process is pretty straightforward. If you guys have interest, we can walk you guys through the pricing and all that, but that's pretty insignificant. So the DCLP or the search intent project, that produced one of the highest ROI for any e-commerce, and we have seen 20, 30x ROAS through this kind of experience. So definitely, if you have a reasonable number of product assortment, especially in specific categories, I think we strongly recommend this kind of experience for your customers. Sandy, back to you.
Okay. Another one that I know you can take off with is, do you guys create ATF, BTF content?
Sure, we create them in very large quantity, and I think Sandy, if you want to add anything there.
Yeah, and we work close with the clients so that we can make sure that we catch your voice and your tone and all the specs that you have and build those into the content so that you have what you need for your site.
Next question.
Okay, next. How are the questions you answer selected, and do I pick them or do you? I can grab that one. So basically the way the questions are decided is depends on what you want to get out of it. Do you want to know relevancy? Do you want to know if there's offensive? Do all you want checked is spelling and grammar? Those are all separate questions, and so it's kind of up to you of what you need. We will recommend at least the top 3, which is check for relevancy, check for retail intent, and check for offensive. But after that, then if there's other information you need to know, then that's up to you. And you can tell us what questions you need to give us. That's fine too.
All right. So thanks everyone. Sandy, any more questions or we good?
One more.
Okay.
What's the turnaround like, and how long would it take to process, say, 5K keywords? Turnaround is how fast do you need it. We've done anywhere from a couple of hundred a day to 80,000 a week. So you just need to let us know how long you need the answers back, and the team can get built to put out that time frame.
All right. So thanks, Sandy, and I definitely like to appreciate everybody to spend time with us. So thanks a lot for joining this webinar, and we'll continue our webinar series every month. So have a great weekend, everyone, and see you in next webinar.
Thank you.